So, church, what is peer pressure? Peer pressure is pressure from one's peers to behave in a manner similar or acceptable to them. Peer pressure is the influence of a social group or an individual. When others try to influence how you act or try to get you to do something you normally wouldn't, you are experiencing peer pressure.
Today, also, we're going to be finding our memory verse. So, can everybody take out their Bibles, please, and turn with me to Romans 12, verse 2. Thank you. Romans 12, verse 2. Say amen once you found it. Amen? Okay. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect. Anybody have their own opinion on this? What? Well, what do you guys think that the verse is trying to say?
We should not be conformed. Conform to something, like you said, is to behave, in a way that is expected or is forced on you. But hey, God is telling us, not to conform to the world, because we know that the world and the things of the world are not of God. So God is saying, because even though we live in this world, anything that is contrary to this world, we should not conform to it. We should be different. And then it says, be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So we see that our mind is very powerful in enabling us to not conform to the world, in the sense that our thinking or thoughts need to be heavily based on the word of God, rather than trying to please the world.
Yeah, thank you.
So what does this mean for us today? This means that we are living in a world where peer pressure is very high, especially for the youths. So it's good to have spiritual discernment and recognize and know how to combat peer pressure if we find ourselves facing it. Do you guys have any views on this?
Yeah, good to recognize, definitely.
Would you like to share your views?
Do you have any views on what was the statement you just made?
We live in a world where peer pressure is very high, especially for the youths. So it's good to have spiritual discernment, recognize and know how to combat peer pressure if we find ourselves facing it.
Do you have any views on that?
You were only done once.
And just to add what Auntie So just said.
I've never said it.
Oh, I thought you finished. Go ahead, Queen. Go. Oh, you done for real? I was just saying, Auntie So said we're all young ones. I would beg to also add that even in our old age, we have peer pressure. Yeah, right until you're dead. Yeah, right until you hit the grave. Yeah, we are all suffering from this disease. Yeah, called sin. And none of us are exempt. No matter what age, you could be 120. You could be 1 year old. Yeah, we all suffer from this thing called peer pressure. So I dare say it's definitely a thing that we get to know and familiarize ourselves with the telltale signs and protect ourselves if we can. Yeah? All right, yeah, definitely.
Can I add to that? Sometimes peer pressure can be good. It's not always that you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
On to our next point.
Come on.
When most of us think about peer pressure, we think about peer pressure as always being bad, but a lot of the time, peer pressure can also be good.
Yeah.
You see, sometimes we can be thinking of something bad to do, like maybe say, oh, I'm going to go to the corner shop, I'm going to go take a Mars bar without them knowing or something. But your friend will be like, no, guy, don't do that, that's not good. All your other friends will join in, they'll be like, no, don't be doing that, that's not good. See, that right there is a form of good peer pressure, because they're pressuring you to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well said.
And the word pressure there might maybe take away, right? But really, it's really influence, peer influence, and it's how you look at or how you manage influence can add pressure to you. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily you choose to. So where you put everything to you, then it's gonna be a lot of pressure on you, and you're gonna be like, "Well, I don't want to lose them." Or you can say, "I don't want to lose my parents." I mean, if your parents are at the top and your friends are influencing you to do something, the pressure's gonna be light. Because I'm like, I love my parents. It's gonna be light. If your friends are really like the pivotal thing in your life, then it's gonna be heavy pressure. Okay.
Do we see any examples of peer pressure in the Bible?
As you just said, there's both good and bad examples of peer pressure. While some bad examples are use of alcohol and drugs and bullying. Does anyone have like their own experience of good or bad peer pressure? Does anyone have their own experience of good or bad peer pressure?
I thought you guys just said that you were all young ones.
Okay, I'll give you an example of bad peer pressure, maybe. When I was I did
Yeah, I told Aiden this story. This was when I was living in Jamaica, and we had a supermarket. Well, every Chinese that lives in Jamaica, we call them Mr. Chinese. Yeah. So we went, myself and some other friends, we went to this supermarket, and we used to do a little bit. Well, my friends they used to do a little bit of shoplifting and stuff like that, and I decided that I'm going to join them. And I took this big bar of Cadbury's chocolate, and back in Jamaica, when you buy Cadbury's chocolate, it means that your parents are rich. Because they're giving you extra pocket money or extra lunch money. So I took this big bar of Cadbury's chocolate bar, and I went home with it. And my stepmom found it, and she was like to me, "Where did you get this from?" And I was like trying to play it off like, "Yeah, it's my lunch money that you gave me." And she's like, "No, I know you. You know, your lunch money is always finished by Tuesday. Where did you get this from?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, my friend, which was my neighbor also, she bought it for me." So I was like, no children are gonna have this much money to buy, Cadbury's chocolate bar, that big bar of chocolate. So she went to the neighbor, and this friend of mine now decided that instead of she take the heat, she's gonna put me in it. And then my stepmom realized that we shoplifted, and she gave me a proper beating for it, but I never did it again, ever.
children, they want to make, yes, yes. So I didn't have no choice. So I had to fight with her. And what I did, I bite her. And I run to my granny house. And she run after me. And I went in the house and I take water and I wet her. I wet all her clothes. Yeah.
Bad girl.
Yeah. Because I didn't want to fight.
You didn't want to fight.
Yeah.
Pressure on you. Pressure from your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's happened to me actually.
Yeah.
All right.
Atina.
Both was bad and not so good. First one was a little while ago. Cece got into trouble with me, and her punishment was I'm going to take her phone away. But when I asked for the phone, she wouldn't give it to me. And I asked several times, but she wouldn't give it. So in the end, I had to take it off her. And obviously, she wasn't happy. She left. She went to school without her phone, and her phone is almost her life. So she wasn't very happy. But when she came home from school, she came over to me and she said, Mama, I just want to apologize for my behavior this morning. So I said, I thanked her for apologizing. And then she went on to tell me it was one of her friends from school. She told that friend, because she didn't have her phone, so everybody noticed. And she told the friend what had happened and why I took the phone off her and what her behavior was towards me with that and so on. And she said, her friend said to her, are you joking? Isn't that your grandmother? That's how you treated your grandmother. That's not right. So that's why when she came home, she came and she apologized to me for that. So that was a good, pressure on her from her friend and so on. When I was around 18, nearly 19 years old, and that's the not so good one, I had a friend, we're still friends now, but she lives abroad. And she was always going to clubs and things, and she always wanted me to come. And I would say, no, not interested, not gonna go. But she went on and on and on, and finally, one day I decided, okay, I will go. 18, but with my dad's permission, I was able to go with her. We got in there, it was a place called the Q Club. I can remember it. It was Q Club and it was on Parade Street. Yeah. And when but the thing for me was being in there, it was really, really uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable because there was ladies at the tables and these fellas were coming over, talking to them, buying them drinks, and I wasn't having any of it. So my friend was getting pretty upset with me. And I was just observing the whole thing, and I realized some of the guys, they were talking with an American accent, but when they forgot they were American, they were African. The African accent would come out. So that made me laugh. And also, a lot of them were wearing shoes, and the heels were like this high to make them, look taller and whatever. So anyway, after a while, I had enough. I told my friend I was going to leave, and she got very upset with me, and in the end, I just packed up and I left. But going down the road, she came running after me, but she was trying to get me to go back. But it was the first and the only time I have ever set my foot in the club. Couldn't stand the atmosphere, couldn't stand it. Yeah. Sister Lewis, you and I need to talk later on.
You have changes in attitude, you have use of alcohol or drugs, there's bullying, There is changes in performance at school. There's changes in ideologies, ideas, or beliefs. Changes in anxiety or stress. Can anybody think of any more? Think of any more effects of peer pressure?
It can be positive,
Yeah.
positive,
Like, you know, not thinking you have to, probably stating, encouraging you from not feeling depressed or anxious. Do you know what I mean? Because remember the word pressure, yeah? Adding pressure to something can destroy it, compress it, or sustain it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you clamp something, you can hold it there. It sustains it, keeps it there. Does that make sense? Or you can really put pressure to this. I can go like this. I can go. Yeah? And break that to bits. Does that make sense? So pressure, you know what I mean, is good and bad. So
Yeah, I was gonna say something. Just like any of those on the list will also have an effect on your family and your household. So, you know, if you had a change in attitude, if you had alcohol and drugs, all those kind of things have an effect, not just on yourself or your friends, but detrimental effect on your household. Your whole family begins to suffer. And it could be through any of those things. On the negative side.
On the negative side, yeah. And I might add that when you look at that use of alcohol or drugs, the statement is or the affirmation or question, what are some effects of peer pressure? So any of those can go either way. They can go backwards or forward. So it's not saying what the negative effects, it's just saying what the effects of. Some friends can actually help you not to get off of drugs.
That's right.
Some friends can actually help you to not even touch drugs in the first place. Some friends, like a colleague of mine told me, can actually influence you being addicted to stuff. One friend of his, they sat on a sofa. I remember we was in his van. I was chaperoning him, shadowing him to learn the role. And he said he was sat in a sofa in another friend's house. A group of guys, they're all smoking weed, and they're passing it around, right? And this friend gave him a stick of weed, and he said something said to him, "What's that?" Because it looked like weed, but he said, "What's that?" And he asked the question. He said, "Weed and crack, or something like that, cocaine." And he said, "Are you crazy?" Because his brothers were drug dealers as well, and they were well known in North London. But he was saying to me, he almost got addicted to that because that friend didn't actually tell him that it wasn't just weed, it was something else as well. And he said his uncle was addicted to crack, he had family members that were addicted to crack. So he could have ended up that way. So it can go both ways. It's not just negative, it's positive as well. And again, I don't want to take away by me talking over that last point. That is pivotal, because that's what it's really all about. What happens to you, what happens to any of us, affects each of us, all of us.
Go on, Auntie.
I was going to say some of the effects also of peer pressure is you can also lead your friends to Christ as well. Because we had an example. Do you remember Auntie Nicole? We met Auntie Nicole at where did we meet her again? At a so it was like a social club.
Yep.
And we became friends with her, and we were sharing our Christian values, and she wanted to know more, and that's how she became a Seventh-day Adventist. So you can also have a positive effect on your friends, and bring them to Christ through your conduct and stuff like that as well.
Sharing something that you think they might not find valuable. Christianity, and it is super valuable.
Well, the three main causes of peer pressure are the need to fit in, low self-esteem, and the fear of rejection. There's also some other ones like wanting to be liked,
social acceptance,
and also avoiding bullying. I've got a real life example of peer pressure for me, and it's a bad example, I was around 9 years old. I was in year 5, and in primary school, we didn't have any of the footballs. We just had a big field with no footballs to play on. All the nursery kids, they had a bunch of about 16 footballs in one big crate. And anyways, right, one of my friends were opening up the crate, and they were getting the footballs out. And a bunch of my other friends were telling me to go help him go get the footballs out. Now, obviously, as a 9-year-old, I'm not thinking, wait a minute, why aren't they doing it? How come they're telling me to do it and they're not doing it? So I'm not thinking that. I go and I start helping pull him out. Crazy. As soon as I go and start helping out, a teacher walks out. And me and my friend, we did end up having to do detention. And we didn't get our break for like the rest of that week. But it's an example to say that even if your friends are doing it, always make sure if they're not doing it and they're trying to encourage you to do it, you must always think, why aren't they doing it? There's got to be something wrong. See, yeah.
But sometimes they'll do it too, but you still have to ascertain, is it good for you? Because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, look at us, we're doing it, there's no harm coming to us. So you still have to weigh, yes, especially if they're not doing it, then you think, but sometimes they'll do it just so you can do it, but you still have to just always think.
So I have, oh, go on, Auntie.
I was just going to pick up on one of the titles where it said fear of rejection. And again, just another example. Just a while back, it's about 2 years ago now, I bought myself a pair of trainers. And Cece came home from school, she saw the trainers there, and she said, wow, Mama, you bought yourself a pair of Jordans. All I knew was that I bought myself a pair of trainers. So she's picked it up and she's looking at it and all of that. And I said, yeah, I thought it was really good. I got them for £15. So she knows if it was a pair of Jordans, it would have had £215. And she said, oh, it's fake. She said, it's fake. I said, well, forget that. You liked it. If you want it with the same size, have it. She said, Mama, you want me to wear these and get bullied? And so I ended up with my trainers. So there is that thing of being rejected or being bullied or whatever.
So like my real life example is that I was at a birthday party with my friends and we were going to the cinema, but one of my friends hadn't originally planned that he was actually going to come with us to the cinema. So even though he never told his parents, he came anyway, and some of our friends had to pay for him. But obviously, because everyone else was going and he was the only one not going, he was feeling a bit left out. So he had almost like an urge to lie to his parents and tell them that they already knew that he was coming. So he ended up coming, but when he got home, he got in trouble for it. And obviously, I was talking to him when I saw him at school, and I was telling him that he shouldn't have lied to his parents and that honesty is the best policy, because it's not good to lie to your parents. So what can we do to help us resist peer pressure? We can pray, we can fast, we can speak to a trusted adult, or we can say no. Is there any other ways that you guys can think of to help us resist peer pressure?
Run. Or walk. It's true.
Walk away.
Uncle Mark is laughing, but it's true. Sometimes you just need to run as fast as you can. Or you just need to walk away.
Yeah, walk away.
Yeah, because I had a party, and every time she will want me to go with her. But one day she come to look for me. My brother was there, and I tell my brother, tell I'm not there. And I went and lie down in my bed.
Or you can lie down.
No, I think because even, let's say for instance, you go and speak to a trusted adult, okay? There's so many theories and theologies going around in this world today that you would think that certain people like a teacher or something, or someone who's a trusted adult, will give you a forthright good example. But there's so many theories and ideologies that go around in this world, and they tell people about this and this transition and all kind of thing and thing. You know, and they want to teach these things sometimes to our young people. That's why it's good that you have it's instilled in your mind from an early age what's right and what's wrong.
Go on, Caleb.
You can ignore?
Yeah.
I think another important point as well, and I think that's very important what Kate said as well, sometimes learning to shut out and ignore things. But I think another important point is using your will, your choice, whenever you can, even when you're not under pressure, to make good choices, so that when the pressure comes on you, you're already in the habit of making good choices. So if you're constantly making good choices, when you're put in front of temptation, you know, and you pray and you do all of that, you're automatically, almost, if you know what I'm trying to say, going to lean toward a good choice. So I think developing habits of good choices, good habits, can help you to withstand peer pressure.
And I'd like to, before you go, is something else?
I don't think.
I was going to say also, it's also effectively listening to the adults around you, adults per se, your parents, guardians, your pastor, whoever, as adults, is effectively listening in order to be able to say a firm no, walk away, and not be, influenced by the negative pressure that may come upon you. Yeah?
I was going to add as well, if nobody else had anything to say before you move on. What Uncle Gerald said, so much philosophy is happening, like going around, so much belief systems. Sometimes we can follow our friends' belief systems can become our philosophies. This is the peer pressure thing we're talking about. Does that make sense? In my life, this has guided me from not robbing shops, literally not robbing shops, not selling cocaine to make money, make millions. When my friends around me was doing so, it stopped me from plundering people. You know what plundering means? Going out and attacking people. This book here, this is the manual of man. Yeah? And what Uncle Gerald is saying, yeah, is what you need to get to know this. This is the key. This is the key. You know, the Father put it here to sharpen us, to let us know who we are. Yeah? So you have to get to know this and pray out. Listen, pray out. Even once you're reasoning with your brethren, you know, when I was at school playing football, when I go on games, when I'm on a journey in a bus, I'm talking to the Father. I remember one time we went to Jamaica. I think Uncle Mary might have been there. We went to play football against football teams in Jamaica. A group of us from England, all around the country here in England. Yeah? And we was going up a hill in the night in one of these what do you call them, coaches, yeah? One of the Jamaican bus coaches, yeah? And we're going up in this hill, and these drivers want to see, and I'm alert because I'm aware. I guess it's cautiousness on my part. I don't really want to die particularly any time into it, unnecessarily. But I was always talking to the Father, knowing that human beings are incapable. We're not in charge of anything. Yeah? And whilst the coaches and everybody else was talking, I sat myself right by the driver. Yeah? And it's night time. I know we've had a long day, and I know human beings, we get tired. And we don't think we're tired. And we think we got this. Yeah? But really we don't. Yeah? And I sat next to the driver, and I'm watching it. And lo and behold, as everybody's laughing and cracking joke about this and that, I'm watching the driver, and I see the driver go like this. And I said, yo, big man. I said, still going like this, start to drop off like again, but not as heavy as he did. But I can still see him tired. And we're going around corners up in hills, precipices, that thing. And I said, yo, big man, I got a license and I can drive. I said, if you need me to drive, I'm here. Yeah, and I'm there talking to you. But imagine if I didn't know enough to be talking to him, God made me, he gave me the knowledge to be able to learn about human beings. You get me? As we all are to learn about each other. God says we must be all things to all men. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You've got to be all things to all men. There is a charge that is upon your lives. The charge is that to whom much is given, just like Spider-Man, the mythological character, yeah? Much is expected. Does that make sense? Alright, I don't want to take it, alright, that's it. Okay, cool.
In what ways can God or has God provided you with support when you need him? So, and it says for Hebrews 13 verse 6, so we can say with confidence, the Lord my helper, so I will have no fear. What can mere people do to me? I'm going to aim this one at the children, so I'm going to ask one of you guys to answer. But in what ways has God provided you with support when you have needed him? Any of you guys got one? Go on, Caleb.
So, basically, one time I was at school and one of my friends was forcing me to do something bad because everyone kept it, like, it was football club, but everyone said climb the gate so we can get our football back because we kicked over the fence. But then God put something in my mind to say no, and then when I said no, a teacher came out, so God supported that.
We're just going to ask for just one from the adults, yeah?
You know what? Once we went on a holiday, right? And while we were on the holiday, the holiday rep people came and they were trying to sell us this holiday that we can buy and pay, like, I don't know how much it would have cost us, maybe. And Uncle Mario was like, honey, that sounds good. Uncle Mario. And it really sounded really good. And they were like, we'll give you an iPad, we'll give you this. They were really giving us everything. And I was thinking, I don't want to have a debt. I don't want debts. I don't do debts, right? And they were like, you know, you could take how many holidays a year or accommodations everywhere. You can do all these things. And I was thinking, God, it sounds tempting, but I don't want to do it. So the lady was forcing me to make a decision there. Uncle Mario was already sold that. He already told them yes, right? And I was like, I don't know about this. Can you come back tomorrow? So when we went to our apartment, our holiday apartment, I went and I picked up my Bible and I prayed and I said, God, I don't really want to take on this debt. And if it's your will, you know, and I don't say use the Bible like that, but that's what I did. So I opened my Bible and I said, God, if you don't want us to take it, make it clear, because this lady's coming tomorrow morning for a decision. So I picked up my Bible, and I think it was Psalm 19. Yeah, me and Uncle Mario, we definitely prayed together, yeah? And then I opened my Bible, and the first verse, I think it was from Psalm 19, and the verse said, do not travel with them. And it was so clear. It was so clear. Like it said, do not travel with them, do not do this with them, do so many things. But the first line was do not travel with them. And all the pressure just disappeared. I was waiting for her when she came to that door that morning. I said, we're not traveling with you, we're not taking anything with you. And I just praise God for that. So I think God helped me to provide the support when we needed it for the pressure.
So here are some peer pressure statistics. Did you know that 85% of high schoolers have felt peer pressure? 75% of adolescents have tried alcohol due to peer pressure. 28% of those who gave in to peer pressure have improved their social status. 70% of teen smokers began as a result of peer pressure. Peer pressure is a serious issue. Yeah, that's it.
what other peer pressure stories can we think of in the Bible that displays how God can help us overcome? Here we have the 3 Hebrew boys, we have Joseph's brothers. Can anybody think of any other examples? For the adults, we're only going to offer 2 examples, okay? Yeah, so.
Yeah, there's examples, several examples. How about Aaron at Mount Sinai? He gave peer pressure that caused the death of many people. Yeah.
Because. Nancy? Job gave into peer pressure. Yeah. Job. Yeah.
You know, you've got the 3 Hebrew boys there. I just wanted to make this point. I think I read it in Jackson Prophet once, where Sister White said, had it not been for the influence of Daniel on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they too would have bowed. But because of the influence of Daniel on them, and it just goes to show how we can have an influence on our friends. Because of Daniel and the way Daniel stood for God, they followed Daniel's example. So it's very important that we are, watching our example, setting the right example for others.
Yeah. We had another example of Pontius Pilate. You said how Pontius Pilate fell with the crowd, how they were all shouting to crucify Jesus. His wife had already came and told him about the dream she had, which specifically said not to give Jesus over to the people. He even interviewed Jesus, even sent him to Herod and back again, each time him being proved innocent. But yet still, because of the peer pressure, with the Pharisees, all the Jewish people, he still went and crucified Jesus.
So, what are some Bible promises that we can claim to help us resist peer pressure? Can somebody find James 4 verse 7, Psalms 51 verse 10, Exodus 3 verse 2, and Psalms 1 verse 1? Yeah, Judah will read James 4 verse 7.
Submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
Does anyone have Psalm 51 verse 10? Yeah, that one. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Verse 2.
Was not consumed.
And Psalms 1 verse 1.
Psalms 1 verse 1 says, Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sin, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
Can anyone else think of any more Bible scriptures that have helped them resist peer pressure?
There's many, but there's many where God says to Joshua, don't be afraid of their faces. I will be with you, I will uphold you. So sometimes, you're in the midst of, friends putting pressure on you or you're afraid. But if you remember that God is with you and he will help you to make the right choices.
Okay, guys, did you know that there are 53 peer pressure verses in the Bible, in the Old and New Testament? That's a lot, 53. Here you can see 30. I'll read about 10 of them out, but we're not going to go through them. But you can see them in your mind. I'll read 5 out. We got Proverbs 13 verse 20, 1 Corinthians 10 verse 13, Romans 12 verse 2, which is one we've read before, Galatians 1 verse 10, Proverbs 1 verse 10, and Acts 5 verse 25.
Can I read out Proverbs 4 verse 14 to 15? You got that there? Can I read that?
You can read it.
No? Why this is no? Go ahead.
So church, what have you... Oh, sorry.
There's one I didn't say, but
So church, what have we learned today? Can we get one person to summarize what we have learned today?
We should not be conformed or try to fit
No. You're not reading that. Caleb,
Let Caleb read it. Let Caleb.
Caleb, would you like to read your point up there? You can read the first one.
Okay. We should not be conformed or try to fit in with other people. We need to be led leaders, not followers.
Asha, can you read the second one?
Peer pressure can be good and bad.
Ida, you can read the third one?
We need to recognize the world we are living in and choose our friends wisely.
Zach?
Be aware of the different causes and effects peer pressure can and combat them praying, seeking help from
Seeking help from God and all trusted others. We can claim God's promises daily to help us.
We should believe and know that God and His words is always available to help us. Remembering what He did for the 3 Hebrew boys, He can also do for us.
Thank you
for participating in our lesson study.